Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, gratefully recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with anybody you think might get something out of it. Other than that, happy Friday, everybody, as always. Fridays are a great day. It's my home group at the Gratitude Group, 66 Winthrop Street in Harvard Square in Cambridge, Mass. 12 to 1, Monday through Friday. Friday is the best day. It's the day I chair. And it was a great meeting today, guys. Fantastic. A whole bunch of people getting chips. Just a lot of happiness, a lot of camaraderie. I will talk. I had I had a little incident afterwards. It's 2 days in a row. Um, the being in Harvard Square and being that I drive, parking is always an issue. I had been taking a parking space when it was available outside the meeting and in front of the pizza place, and I thought it was kind of a gray area. Though I will say, and again, this goes right back to my higher power. I've got to do better because God has been really good to me. Before anything happens in my life, I get a warning every time. And somebody told me a week or two ago that it's not a good idea to park there, that they will have you towed. And I moved that day. And then here I am 2 weeks later, and I see the spot open. I take the spot. I go into my meeting. I come out, and boom, my truck's gone. Like, God, you gotta be kidding me. So I looked for the sign. I found the towing company. I called them up, and sure enough, they had my truck. $340 cash to go get my truck out of tow. And you know what? I was shocked. I wasn't mad. I was actually a little grateful. I'm like, wow, I am that plugged in, and this is what happens to teach me from going backwards. I've had a few similar incidences happen all along this recovery. Like when I went back to work for my former boss one day when I had things I should have been doing for myself, but I let him goad me into going back. Boom, I back into my motorcycle. Like I get a warn, I get a heads up that's a bad idea to park there. So now I know, like I know better. Just being lazy. And boom, the next time I park there, after parking there about 100 times, truck gets towed, cost me $340. Now, ironically, just before the meeting, somebody sent me an electronic payment that they've owed me for a while that I'd pretty much written off of $350. So it technically didn't even really affect my bottom line, other than it was, still money I would rather not have given to the tow company. But normally I'd be all pissed off and blaming everybody, and I didn't. I just called the tow company and said, okay, well, what do I need to come get it? What's your address? Hopped in a Lyft, drove there, got them cash out of the ATM, and gave it to her without giving her a hard time. I'm like, no, hey guys, the truck's okay, nothing damaged, nothing stolen, and nothing. They didn't. I mean, that's the thing, guys. My truck is full of tools. Like the tow truck driver could have been an ass and stolen stuff, and nothing happened. So I dealt with it with gratitude. At the end of the day, it was my fault. I knew I was risking it parking there. I parked there. I paid the price, and I don't let it affect my day. Other than that, guys, I want to announce today is 500 days of continuous sobriety. I'm honored for that. I'm so excited for that. I'm doing the video a little early tonight because the Narcotics Anonymous meeting that I attend, I haven't been attending as much lately because it's 2 meetings in a day. But it's our 40th anniversary of my Friday night NA my Friday night NA meeting. So we're doing a big party over there tonight with all sorts of food, and it's gonna be a ton of people, and I'm gonna go celebrate and just be amongst my friends. So I'm gonna get the video done so that I can get cleaned up and go do that. And so without any further ado, guys, let's get into the reading. And it's amazing. The fact that I behaved as well as I did through all this turmoil, the stuff that happened yesterday with the almost getting in the accident, the truck breaks, and then today paying all that money for the tow, and I'm like, no, this is what it is. Like today was my fault, 100%. I didn't give them a hard time. I wasn't pissing and moaning. These are the symptoms of a spiritual awakening. Like I see my part in things. I take accountability for my actions, and I don't want to make somebody else miserable because I made a mistake. And I went in there, I literally walked out of there and thanked the drivers. I'm like, hey guys, thank you very much, appreciate it. You guys have a good day. That's it, man. Like, and the reason for it, guys, at the end of the day, now I'm not sitting here with a belly full of poison stress, getting all pissed off and letting it take me out of myself, because that's what I've noticed. If I let myself get taken out of myself, it just opens the door for things to spiral, and one mistake turns into two, and that leads to 3 and 4, and before long, this beautiful life that I'm building isn't so beautiful anymore, and I don't have to risk that today. I don't have to worry about that today. So Symptoms of a spiritual awakening is the Just for Today and a meditation, and it's a good one. So, the steps lead to an awakening of the natural spirit. This awakening is evidenced by changes in our lives. We know how to recognize the disease of addiction. Its symptoms are indisputable. Besides an uncontrollable appetite for drugs, those suffering exhibit self-centered, self-seeking behaviors. When our addiction was at its peak of activity, we were obviously in a great deal of pain. We relentlessly judged ourselves and others and spent most of our time worrying or trying to control outcomes. Well, just as the signs of addiction is evidenced by definite symptoms, so is a spiritual awakening. So is a spiritual awakening made manifest by. So is a spiritual awakening made manifest by certain obvious signs in a recovering addict. We may observe a tendency to think and act spontaneously, a loss of interest in judging or interpreting the actions of anyone else, an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment, and frequent attacks of smiling. If we see someone exhibiting the symptoms of a spiritual awakening, we should be aware that such awakenings are contagious. Our best course of action is to get close to these people. As we begin having frequent, overwhelming episodes of gratitude, an increased receptiveness to the love extended by our fellow members, and an uncontrollable urge to return this love, we will realize that we too have had a spiritual awakening. And the affirmation is just for today. My strongest desire is to have a spiritual awakening. I will watch for its symptoms and I will rejoice when I discover them. And guys, it's a little play on words, a little, just something thrown in there to make levity of the reading. But it's absolutely true. It is not hard to see the people that are having a spiritual awakening because it's a huge change. And again, the one thing I wish I could do was go back and take a snapshot of my life before recovery, because you guys would not believe the difference today. Even when today, that's about as close to a bad day, and almost 2 in a row, that I've had in 17 months. My truck being towed, almost getting in an accident yesterday because my brakes went out on me. Those are a couple of tough things, right? No, the truck's 2009. It's getting older. Brake lines go. And now here's the test. Am I going to replace just that one, or there's 2 other flexible brake lines on that truck that need to be replaced? And you can bet your ass this weekend I'll be replacing them so I don't risk losing it. And that's the difference, guys. We may not always see it, because I would have been the first one to tell you, you can't stop a brake line from blowing out. Well, no, but when one goes, you can understand that it's a rubber line, and there's other ones like that in the truck that are just as old, and they're probably just as likely to sometime fail down the road. And I can then go preemptively maintain my truck and make sure it's not going to happen. Or if it starts happening with any kind of frequency, being that the truck is 15 years old, I may consider replacing it. I don't think I'll go that route because I know my truck and it's got a lot of work done to it and it's in good shape. But I can avoid these things, and I would have never believed that in the past. Well, who's going to do this or that? Or no, we're just making excuses for what we know, or we ignore. And in my case, I would ignore because I just wouldn't even consider doing these things. Today I do, and that's the difference of having lived a spiritual experience and having had a spiritual awakening. I want to protect what I have in my life today, which is my freedom, my ability to move forward, my happiness. I understand today that my gift to the world is my upbeat attitude. I bring joy and levity everywhere I go. People get excited to see me when I walk in, and it lifts the atmosphere of the room. That is my gift to humanity, and I can only bring that if I'm feeling it. If I walk in my old, head down, don't want to look at nobody, don't want to engage with anybody, don't want to get to know anybody, don't want to bring joy to anybody, then boom, my gift is no longer in action. And that's why I didn't know I had that gift, because even though I was always known by my inner circle for being upbeat and positive during the misery, because I could only let people that got very close to me see that, and it wasn't that many people that got to get close to me. Everywhere else I had to play the facade of the drug dealer, the runner, the ex-con, and use that because I was in dangerous situations where, I had to look tough so nobody would mess with me. And yes, I'm physically strong, but I'm not a tough guy. That's not who I am. I'm a kind person. And you cannot run around acting like this hard ass and have a spiritual awakening. I wouldn't have believed a spiritual awakening was possible in that life. 500 days in, guys, my life looks so different today. I'm so proud to be where I am. I'm so blessed to be where I am. And I love the fact that, it cost me about an extra 45 minutes and $340 to get my truck back out. But the minute I drove away, I was back to my normal self. Okay, what do I got to do next? Oh, I got a service call. Let me go see Emily. We'll take care of that. Boom, go back and take care of some stuff at the office and just move on. And then further, I look at it and go, wow, God knew this was coming. I made the mistake. I regressed. I went backwards and did something I know better. So boom. And here's the reason I say I'm grateful for that, guys. Because I know God is watching. My higher power is in my life. And when I make bad decisions, I get a gentle warning to put me back on the track that I'm on. Because if I start slipping, here's the thing, guys. When we start slipping, even in the little behaviors, if we don't catch them and correct them, it leads to more. So now I think it's okay to illegally park my truck. So I'm thinking I'm special. I'm better than anybody else. I get to park there when others can't. And it's not the way to live a spiritual life. I'm not better than anybody. I don't deserve any special perk from anybody else. I deserve what I earn. What I need to earn is the exercise from parking a half a mile up the road where I can safely park and I can pay the meter for the entire time I'm there, and I can not worry about my truck being towed away, and then I get the exercise of the half-mile walk to the meeting. That's what I've earned, you know what I mean? That's what I need to... And for that, God will continue to reward me because I'm taking the extra steps. And unfortunately, guys, it started with the winter, and there wasn't any parking up there, and they were doing construction. And maybe I get away with it during the hiatus, the difference, the interim. But for me to decide it's just convenient for me to park outside the pizza place and leave my truck there for 2 hours knowing it's not quite right. That's not living my highest self. That's not being the person I've challenged myself to be. So I'm glad that I got towed and it didn't turn into something catastrophic. But it also, God let me know that He's right there with me by making sure that it happened the minute somebody happened to send me $350 that I had written off. And I wasn't even upset about. Like, I was shocked when that showed up just before I was walking the meeting. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't ever expect to see that. And I should have known when I called the tow company. If I thought it through, I would have said, I bet you this is going to cost me $340, $350, but I still made $10 out of it. So, and it's okay. I can laugh. I can joke. I told a couple of people, and they're like, oh my God, no. And I'm like, listen, if I wasn't willing to pay the price, I wouldn't have parked there. It's okay. I didn't intentionally, because I never thought for a second I would never intentionally put my truck at risk. But when I think about it now, I had my warnings and I knew better and I chose not to pay attention to it. And that's not how I want to live my life. And for that reason alone, I'm grateful for that happened because it put me back on the track I need to be on. These are the symptoms of a spiritual awakening, guys. And I see it all the time. And the more I see it in my life, the more I come to believe it, the more I understand it, the more comfortable I am sharing it with others. Because that's the beauty of it. It's one thing for me to hoard it and keep it to myself and say, oh, I've got a leg up on everybody else. No, that's not the gift and that's not the way blessings work. For me to use myself as an example to show why it's important to do the right thing, even when nobody's looking, when you think you can get away with it, and when you think there's nothing coming down the pike, it shuts off the flow of blessings. The blessings will come when I stop parking a half mile up the road again, walking down and sharing that. And I'll bump into somebody and make bring somebody into the meeting, or I will be there for some reason. And by cutting corners and parking right outside because it's easy for me, guys, the thing of it is, I still get there an hour early, and I'm sitting in my truck for an hour because I give myself the room time to park, and I end up just sitting in my truck watching videos for an hour before I go into the meeting. Like, that's time I could be better spent now that the weather's nice, walking down or meeting people or encouraging somebody else. There's plenty of people in Harvard Square that are down on their luck that might need a word of encouragement. And I see now that what I was doing was cutting corners and thinking I was special, getting to have my own, illegal special parking place. And no, God gave me a gentle reminder today that it's not how we do things, so I'll go back to doing it properly. And it's beautiful, guys. There's too much beauty in my life today for me to want to, get away with anything, because I understand when I talk about it every day on video, guys. When you do the hard work, when you take the extra steps, it brings in blessings that you'll never see coming. And I'm glad. And I didn't do any of this intentionally, but now that it's done, I see that, and I'm glad for it. And that's how you turn even having your truck towed and paying $340 unexpectedly to get it back into a blessing, because you understand you were doing something that is against who you are, even though I hadn't even thought about it, and now I will correct it, and I look at it as a positive, because everything is a blessing today, because I look at the lesson, and I learn the lesson, and I overcome the lesson, and therefore they don't repeat themselves. That's how we live a spiritual awakening. At least that's how I'm currently living a spiritual awakening in my life. Other than that, it's very simple, guys. I decided to make a post on Facebook this morning to my friends. I think I made it public, actually. Hey, day 500 of living clean and sober, life this, now. Just how incredibly grateful I am and how privileged I am to just be myself today. And that's amazing. And the feedback I got, the people encouraged. I had people I haven't seen in 35 years. Oh my God, good for you. Congratulations. It's amazing. Keep going. Just encouraging. And then I'm putting it out there, and I put it in a lot of sobriety groups that I'm in to encourage other people. Because those that knew me and knew my history, when they hear that I've been sober for 500 days, that brings hope. When they hear that I'm running a business and I got nothing hanging over my head and I'm putting all this wreckage behind me, that brings hope to other people, and I'm honored to do that today. And that's part of, like I always say, everything has a contingency. In order for me to get the most out of my life, I've got to put the most in, and I've got to share it with as many as I can, because that's the path I've chosen. I'm not saying anybody has to go share any of their private, personal information online. I kind of recommend you don't. But this is the choice that I've made in building this recovery channel, to share my story publicly, to show, and I'm getting a lot of rewards from it, guys. I feel like my life is blessed beyond my wildest dreams, and it's not because of the publicity. It's not the publicity from the channel, but it's because I've shown God in a leap of faith that I was willing to follow the download, the instruction that I got in meditation, and do this to help others. And it's brought me to places I'd never believed. Further than that, guys, 415 pounds again this morning at the gym, feeling good. My meeting, other than a little hiccup with the truck, and then I'm going to get cleaned up and go celebrate with a whole bunch of really good people. Some of these people were the people that were there when I walked into that meeting in 2017, and I was still active and homeless at that point, and I hadn't gone into recovery, but these people made me want it, made me realize just how bad my life had gotten, and I got arrested right outside the meeting. But when I got to court, I didn't fight to get out of court. I surrendered and told the judge, Mr. Kelly, what do you want to do? I said, Your Honor, just give me the 6 months in jail. I need it. Save my life. And he respected me for that. And I've never had to go back to that court in front of that judge again because of it, though I did go back out. But, anyway, won't go there. Guys, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Happy Friday, everybody. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.